What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another stream. Had a little bit of a long weekend due to the holiday. No stream yesterday, but bringing it back on Tuesday. Gonna start the week off pretty quick. Standard stuff today. I'm gonna go over the price action on SPY. We're also gonna go over the price action on Bitcoin as well. So I thought that to change it up a little bit, I've been doing the recaps on SPY. So starting from basically like 10:30. And then going on until we catch up to the live time. Once we're done with the SPY recap, I'm gonna go over Bitcoin as well. So for you guys that are crypto traders or you guys that are not really interested in SPY trading, I'm gonna go over the same technique on Bitcoin and how you could have traded it. So first, let's start off with SPY. I'm gonna drop this down to a 1 minute. Pretty big gap up today. I'm not sure how big of a gap. Let's see. Pretty significant, though. We talked about this last stream. So if you guys watched the stream on Friday, yeah, gap up almost 2.5%. I talked about how we were closing. Let me go to a different chart here. We were closing on a very precarious spot, right? We were closing basically right on that pivot. So we had a little bit of a test, and then we pulled back, and we were closing either... we were gonna gap down to the trail, or we were gonna gap above the pivot. There was basically no other scenario, right? It was either gonna gap down into support, or it was gonna break above this pivot, and it chose to break above the pivot. So right now, it's showing a pretty big pin bar. You got a little bit of a hanging man candle, kind of above that pivot. You are seeing the support come in above 300. Now, I talked about this a few times on stream. I also talked about this in the summary of markets right up in the Discord. If we see significant value being gained above this pivot, above the 300 range, very likely that this is not a dead cat bounce. We are not going to see it retrace to the lows. Very likely that this just continues to grind higher into that like 331 to 330 gap. This little gap right here between 320, 331. That is the bullish target for the bulls. Anybody buying calls or playing for the retest of the highs, that's basically what you're looking for. And if we start to gain value above this pivot and the trail catches up above the pivot, you will very likely continue to climb into that higher pivot. So keep an eye on that. Let's go back to the price action here. Pretty balanced day today. Hey, Maverick, what's going on, man? I'm going to start off with a replay, so let's go to the replay here. Gonna let it run for like 10:30, usual. So here's 10 o'clock. Let's let it run a little bit more. All right, so just starting off right here at around, 10:15, we have a little bit of a bull div coming in on the Momo. So when you have a bull div like this, like I told you guys many times before, if you are trading the tails, if you're trading outside the value area, you have, you don't want to trade against the trend, really. So typically when it's breaking outside the value area, unless it's just going for a small test where you're looking for like a balanced day and you're looking to buy the dips and sell the highs, unless it's something like that, you really don't want to trade too heavily against that trend if it's showing momentum outside that trail. So like if it's showing signs of rejecting the value area and it's trying to, like, for example, if it broke out here and you tried to reclaim and you failed to reclaim, and you really want to avoid trying to trade against that trend, right? But with an exception, if you do see bull divs or bear divs inside that tail, then that is going to be a good way to counter trade that trend, right? So if you took a long here, your stop loss would basically be below the lows, because you want to maintain the trade plan that this is a bull div. It should be bouncing here. You should not be going into a new low, with the exception of like a triple bull div or a triple bear div. So like if this were to make a new low, but the momentum climbed again, and you had that kind of triple peak, that is like the only exception, right? So you have a bull div, you could take the trade here, or you could have taken it before it was confirmed on the low. Stop loss would be below the lows, obviously, and then you would be targeting the value area low as your first target, VWAP as your main target, and then you could extend the target towards your value area high. Let's see how this would have played out. So there's your first target. First target achieved, value area low. Let's see if VWAP is hit here. VWAP very close to being hit. Kind of front ran it a little bit. There it is. So second target, or your main target of VWAP, was achieved. You also achieved POC, so if you wanted to target POC, you could. Value area high still remains your main target. Or sorry, your final target. If you're holding any contracts, you should be out basically completely, or you should only be holding very minimal contracts here, like less than a quarter. But if you're holding anything, you're looking to close on the value area high, which has shifted, which is going to be right here now. Okay, so now that you're starting to lose the value area low here, if you show signs of gaining value below the value area low, you would be closing your trade. You do not want to allow a winning trade to turn into a losing trade. So whenever you take profit on like your main target or a secondary target, if it starts to retrace towards your first target, that's a good place to kind of take profit again, right? So take profit on your first target, take profit on your main target, retraces down to your first target, you can take profit again, giving you a little bit of an average somewhere around there, right? So it gives you a really good trade from your entry. Let's see if you gain value here. You did not gain value. You're still shifting towards the value area high. Almost tested it there. Let's see. You're a little bit lower. Still haven't tested it. See if you gain VWAP here. Okay, you gained VWAP, and there's your test. So there's your final target. You should be out of your trade now. So entry would have been bull div. Very standard entry, stop loss below the lows. And then you had your targets around your value area low, VWAP, POC, value area high. So now you should be fully out of that trade. Let me go ahead and remove everything. What time is it? It's 11:03. What's going on, man? 11:03. So you would be looking for a new trade. Let's take a look at the profile. What are we seeing? Profile is slightly bullish because you have most of the volume towards the high. Now for this to become balanced, what you would be looking for is a gap fill right here. So this little area right here would be a good place to enter a short if you started to pop up and fail that area, right? It's towards the high of the day. Let me actually bring our levels in. So there's our high of a day. There's our open. So our open is right next to that gap, right? So if price starts to rise towards that open and we start to fail or distribute a little bit, that could be a good short entry because this is a gap on a decently balanced day. So if you want the day to be more balanced, you would have to see some volume fill in here and then fail back down towards the middle. That would give you that balanced kind of bell curve, right? So you look for that it's abnormal, right? So you have an abnormality or like an abnormal profile up here. So if you wanted to fill this in and become normal, you would have to put volume right here, right? You'd have to put volume on that gap. That is the idea of this trade, okay? Let's see if it plays out. Still kind of balancing towards POC. So another trade idea, if it does fail here, I'll give you another trade idea here. Another trade idea would be a retest of the value area low, which would give you a slight buy zone kind of between this point of origin. So basically anything that's gained right here would be a nice little buy. Stop loss would be below the low of the day, so around the low there. So the closer you buy towards that point of origin, the better the trade will be. It will be a little harder to get though. So that's your second trade idea. So somewhere around here would be like your entry for a long. And then somewhere around here would be your entry for a short. Besides that, everything in the middle, you're not really paying attention to. You're just kind of ignoring that price action. Okay, so here's your entry. You actually would have got stopped out if you took that as a limit. If you waited for price to show signs of support, you wouldn't have entered the trade here because it just blew right through. But if you did take this trade as a limit order, for example, you just put your order in, you did not wait for confirmation, you would have basically instantly got stopped out there. So that kind of shows you why it's good to wait for confirmation. So it depends on how aggressive you want to be, right? If you were aggressive and you took that trade as a limit, you would have got stopped out. If you were more patient, you would not have taken this trade yet. And let's see if it gives you a better trade. So right here is about where you would have taken that trade if you were being patient, because you are showing signs of support down below that that tail, right? That little area outside the value area. So aggressive trade, you would have got stopped out. Safer trade, you would be entering here. So if you entered here, your stop would be basically the same below the low of the day. Let's see if you get stopped out again. It looks like you are going to get stopped out. Oh, yep. Okay, so this is a sign that this is a good example of you're not going to win every trade, right? So these are high probability trades, but even though they're high probability trades, that does not mean you are going to win every single trade. I just had a tutoring session yesterday where I was talking to a few people about this concept where you need to understand that just because you lose the trade does not mean it's a bad trade. I would take this trade probably every single day. If it gave me a profile like this where it was decently balanced and you had a nice little support inside that tail, I would probably take that trade every single day it would give it to me. Because the majority of the time you are going to win those trades, but you're not going to win them every single time. So this is a good example of you are not going to win every single trade. And the thought process is, if you take a bad trade and you don't understand that that's a bad trade and you win that trade, you're going to keep taking that bad trade, right? So if you take that bad trade 100 times, you're probably going to lose that trade much more than you would win that trade. Same thing is said about a good trade. If you take a good trade and you lose it, you're like, okay, that's a bad trade. I'm never going to take that trade again. But if you just kept taking that good trade, and it's actually a good trade, so it has merit, right? It has analysis to back it, right? It has probability to back it. If you take that good trade 100 times, very often you're going to win that trade probably 60 to 70 times out of 100, right? So just because you lose it 30 times out of 100 does not mean it's a bad trade. So make sure you guys keep that in your head, right? So both of these trades you would have lost. It would have been one trade. You wouldn't have taken both, obviously. You would have either taken the aggressive entry right around here without waiting for confirmation, or you would have taken the safer entry when you saw this bounce right here. Both of these trades you would have lost. But that's okay. So now we're looking for a bull div, or you're looking to trade in the direction of this failure. But like I said earlier, when you're finding value inside that tail, you do not want to counter trade that, right? So you want to follow the trend if you're trading in that direction, or you want to wait for like a bull div or a bear div to shift the trend. So right now we're getting a small bull div. It's not confirmed. So you want to see kind of price fail down a little bit, and then the momentum should be climbing a little bit. Let's see if we can get that. So far it's not giving it to us. There's no bull div here. You do have a small bottom warning on the Momo, but it's not a bull div. Did it give you a bull div here? No, no bull div, just a gain in momentum. The one thing to watch for would be a regain of your value area low, which is right here. That would be another signal. Okay, so here's a retest of the value area low. So if you were being aggressive here and you wanted to trade in the direction of this failure, if you wanted to short this, this was your entry. A retest of the value area low has resistance. Also, confirmation on the Momo, right? So the Momo gave you a bear div, and you're testing the value area low as resistance. What's going on, Keytoy, Bitmask? Good to see you guys. You also had a top warning on the Momo as well. So top warning, bear div, and value area low test. That's a pretty good short. So you could have shorted the retest here. Your targets would be basically this little gap right here. So 300, right around right here. You have a gap, and you also have a high volume node right around here. So those would be your two little targets. You also have a gap right above that high volume node that you could target if you wanted. Let me actually make this. Let me make this cleaner. You have a gap right here. You have a high volume node just below that. So basically the same level. And then you have another gap right here. Your stop loss would basically be a break of the value area low. So if you break above the value area low here and regain this, you would be stopping out here. This is still a risky trade to short this because this is a decently bullish profile. You're pretty balanced, and most of that volume is towards that high. So you're still decently bullish. So shorting this here would be a little, it'd be a little risky. Okay, so there's your first target. There's your second target. So you would have closed your short here. You don't want to hold on to this for very long because, like I said, this is a decently bullish profile. So you don't want to let this thing run too long. If you wanted to, you could hold on to, like I said, like probably 25%, maybe a fourth of your size. If you're trading one or two contracts, though, you would be closing this. Oh, by the way, this would be a lunchtime trade, so that would make it even more risky. So if you're not trading lunchtime, you would not have taken this trade. Let's make sure we're keeping an eye on our value area low. It's shifted downward a little bit. So now we're retesting our value area low. If it reclaims this value area low, that would give you a little bit of a long signal, and you would be targeting VWAP and POC as your targets. Let's see if it flips it. Okay, so you start to reclaim the value area low here. Because you're reclaiming the value area low, this is giving you a long signal, okay? So if you were to take this trade here, your stop loss would be below the distribution right here. If you had a really good entry, or if you wanted to widen your stop loss, you could put it down here as well. But if you put it down there, it doesn't really give you a good R to R, because you would be targeting the VWAP here. You would also be targeting the POC, right? So if you took this trade here, that would be the main stop loss. You could widen it a little bit, but that would be the main one. Let's see if it plays out. You're front running VWAP a little bit here. It would be scaring you slightly, but you would hold on to this. Okay, there's your target. So first target achieved on VWAP. Let's see if you can get your second target on POC. Just a slow grind here, nothing really happening. Still waiting for that POC to be tested. There you go. Okay, so your final target is hit, or your main target is hit, I should say. Your final target could be the value area high, right around here. But like I said, this would be the same scenario where you want to be mostly out of your trade here. If you're trading big size or multiple contracts, you could hold a quarter of your size to that main target, or sorry, that final target. So this would be your final target where you full close. We're still watching for that short entry around that gap too. So you still have a gap around this area right here. So you're still watching for that as well. So you could hold on for that gap if you really wanted to. but I wouldn't hold on for too long. If this loses VWAP and you're holding any kind of contracts, you would be full closing here. Hey, John, you said, what's up, Deja? Hope all is well. Using Sim on Tradeovate, like the platform. Tradeovate is really good, man. I was using Tradeovate on the Top Step Combine. I like them a lot. They're very simplistic. They give you basically everything you need. Nothing too fancy. I like them a lot. Now, I wouldn't use them as like my main platform because I use all my stuff on TradingView for all my indicators and whatnot. But for just like the simple futures trading stuff, like the DOM and all that stuff, they do a really good job. All right, let's see if it loses VWAP here or you still stay above VWAP. This is where you're getting a little scared here. Okay, so now you shifted downward and your POC is shifted, so you're becoming very balanced. So same thing. If you lose VWAP, you're closing that trade completely and you're still looking for a short signal either around that value area high or around that gap. Nothing has changed. Still testing VWAP. You can see how good VWAP is at calling these levels. You can see how VWAP performed back here, holding that as a support, and then you lost it. Then you held the price down as a little bit of resistance, then you reclaimed it, and now you're holding it as support. VWAP is very important here when you're day trading SPY. Look at this, it's still holding VWAP. Okay, finally it's broken VWAP. So if you were holding anything on your trade from way back down here, you would be full closing. You do not want to allow a winning trade to turn into a losing trade. So you would be full closing there. Let me clean up the chart. You're still looking for either a short signal around that gap or a long signal around the value area low here. You also have a high volume node right down here, which could be another long entry as well. If you start to gain value below this high volume node, it's a little risky to trade that, but you could be watching for the point of origin test or another long signal. But these would be your main long entries. This would be your main short entry. Watch the Momo here. It's giving a little bit of a bottom warning. If you start to find support, it could give you a small signal. Yeah, I saw that, John. I saw they actually they support tying in to TradingView. I probably would end up doing that if I was continuously day trading with them. I actually liked what I was doing with Tradeovate though. So what I would do is I would have my screen like this, where I would do a lot of my analysis, and then I would have my futures screen on my other monitor, and I would have the tick chart. So I would leave that open with the tick chart, and I talk about that in Discord. So the whole strategy with the tick chart is in Discord. But yeah, so I would have the tick chart on one monitor, and then I would have the trading view on this monitor, and then I would just use them both. So there you go. You're getting front run a little bit on the Val. If you were very aggressive here, you could have longed that, but that would be an extremely aggressive trade because your stop loss would be pretty far away. I would like my stop loss to be somewhere kind of around here. So if you took any longs right here, your stop loss is pretty far. So it depends on how aggressive you want to be. If you were in like massive profit on the day, maybe you took a couple trades early in the morning and you've won basically every single trade, you could probably be aggressive. But if you were not massively profitable on the day, I would probably just wait for a better trade. So let's see what pays off. The aggressive entry. Okay, so we're actually caught up to live here. Okay, so no, actually, we missed a little bit of that data there. Let me replay it again, just so we catch that data. Let me go back a little bit further, actually. So here's where we were. We were testing that value area low. If you took that aggressive entry, I think you would have been okay, actually. Yeah, you would have been okay. Because like I said, my stop loss would have been somewhere around below the high volume node here. You would have got scared a little bit. It got really close to your stop loss, but it would not have stopped you out there. So depending on how aggressive you were, your stop loss, like I said, should have been below that high volume node. You would have been okay. So far, would have scared you a little bit. The problem is, if you would have entered like here on that lower test of those levels, you could have taken profit on VWAP. That's a decent move there. But if you took the trade right around here, you cannot take profit on VWAP. That's not enough. So it didn't pay off to be aggressive here. Do you know Pine scripting? Yeah, I know a decent bit. I coded a lot of our indicators. The Oasis Trading Suite was mainly coded by me. A lot of input from my main coder. The Momo was mainly coded by our main coder. The formula was mine. So I do a little bit of half and half. I'm good at doing like mathematical logic based coding in PineScript. But once you get very complicated with like the variables and stuff, I don't do a lot of that coding. Pretty much all of our indicators are very simple code. Like the open high, the recent indicators that I coded myself that I released were the open high low levels. This one, that was very simple. It's just using ticker data from TradingView. The volume moving average indicator that I coded, that's like 10 lines of code. Very, very simple. I don't do very complex stuff. I do more simple stuff. If it's complex, I give it to my coder. I'm trying to code the bots in PineScript, which I've got them pretty much finished except for the stop loss part. The stop loss part is driving me insane. I haven't messed with it for the past couple of days. I'm still trying to figure it out in my head. But all right, so I said that I was going to go over SPY and then we were going to do Bitcoin. So let's go do Bitcoin. I'm going to do the same exact thing that I just did on SPY, but we're going to do it on Bitcoin. The difference is it's going to be a lot quicker on Bitcoin because I typically trade the volume profile on about the 15-minute or the 10-minute. Any of these, 5, 10, 15, are typically where I trade the volume profile on Bitcoin. I don't do the 1 minute because it's just way too long as a 24-hour market. So it's going to be a lot shorter of a recap, but I'll show you guys how you could have traded it. I mainly, if I'm doing volume profile stuff, I use exocharts for the volume profile levels because it marks them out very nicely. It gives you a different kind of data set. So mainly, as you guys can see in the Discord, I post most of my volume profile stuff in regards to Bitcoin on exocharts. I don't typically use this on Bitcoin. A man said, what platforms run bots built in PineScript? So I'm using Alertatron. So I'm building them in PineScript, and then I use Alertatron that takes the alerts from TradingView and creates an indicator based on those alerts. Or sorry, creates a bot, I mean. All right, so let's how do I want to do this? Let's replay. I'll go down to like the 10-minute and we'll replay from the start of the day. The first thing you want to do, because Bitcoin does not have gaps, unless it's like CME gaps, it's a 24/7 market if you're looking at the BitMEX ticker. The first thing you want to do, if you're on TradingView, it already does this for you on exocharts where it marks out your levels. But if you're on TradingView, you want to go ahead and mark out your previous day's value area high, your previous day's value area low, and if you want, you can mark out the POC as well. But mainly, you want to pay attention to your value area high and value area low. You could also mark out the high and the low, but you don't need all that data really. Mainly the POC and the value area. Okay. So now that we're started, let this run a little bit. Now, the main problem with doing this on Bitcoin is you have to let it run for a little bit, right? To get that profile. And if you're using like a 5-minute or a 10-minute, you can't let it run for too long because the the day is only so many hours, right? Just use profit trailer. I like Alertatron. Alertatron's doing what I needed to do. I like the ability to be able to code basically whatever I want, and I can just have the alerts do the trading. So for Bitcoin, typically this would be like the morning, right? So this would be when I'm sleeping. So I would not be trading this. So I'm just going to let this run until about probably 9. We're just going to let this run because I would be sleeping during this time, which the majority of the market is sleeping during this time. This would be basically the Americans' sleeping time, and the Americans' open would be around 9:30. Okay, so I'm going to let this run until around 9:30. Now, the good thing about the difference between trading the volume profile on Bitcoin and SPY is the American Open for Bitcoin, you don't have to wait for data. You will have all of this data during the American Open. But on SPY, you have to wait a little bit to get that data, right? So let's let it run until the American Open, the US Open. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Okay, so here is right around 9 o'clock. So this is our profile for the current day. And then we have our levels marked out. Let me actually change the color of these so we can see them a lot easier. These would be... And here, I'll mark these as well so we don't get lost. This would be the previous day's value area high. This would be the previous POC. And you guys can do this when you're trading as well, just to help yourself out. And this would be the previous val. Okay, so these are the important levels that you would pay attention to. Maverick said, you know how to draw a line from one point to another when a certain condition is true? For example, if a low of a current candle and a previous candle is equal, I want to draw a line from those 2 points. Not off the top of my head, no. I do not. I don't do a lot of plotting stuff, so that's all like plotting, like where you're plotting different lines and whatnot. I don't know how to really do that. I'm good at plotting like high and low lines. I'm good at plotting like horizontal lines, stuff like that. I stick to the pretty simple stuff though. But okay, so this would be like the US Open. The first thing that I see here, same exact thing that we saw right on the open of the SPY. You have a little bit of a bull div here. You have a bull div coming in on the 10-minute. We are also very close to our previous day's POC. So our previous day's POC could act as support here. You're starting to find a little bit of value. You have your current day's value area low right here. So this would be your val. So basically, this area right down here would be like a support area. You could look to long this, or you could be a little safer and look to long the previous day's val. Because you are inside your previous day's value area, like this is our value area, right? We are inside the previous day's value area. You can pay attention to your supports and your resistance levels from yesterday, right? So most of our supports are going to be right around here. You have kind of a point of origin right there. You have yesterday's daily open, which lines up exactly with the val. So these are going to be your supports. You also have a little bit of a lower support right around that high volume node right there. So if you're looking to buy the dip, and like if you're looking at high time frames on Bitcoin and they show kind of bullish signals, then you are looking to play these supports. Okay, those are the levels you're watching. So basically anything from here to around here, this little 1% range, even go down a little bit further, 1.5%, these would be basically your buy zones. And these would be your important levels. POC, val, high volume node. Okay, let it play out. You can see how you're already finding resistance on that val. It's already shifting downward because you're finding value. You're shifting your value lower. So that indicates that it's very likely that you could see a little bit of a lower move here down to the POC. But you also have to pay attention to the volume, the momentum here. So the momentum is so far not showing a lot of signs of failing again, right? It's not showing signs of wanting to go lower. You have a little bit of a confirmation of a small bull div here, but nothing too strong. Okay, so there you go. There's your failure downward. You got faked out a little bit by the momentum there, and then you had that massive shift downward. Look at where you're bouncing. Right around that range that I was talking about. You have that point of origin kind of right here. Daily open around the previous day's value area low, and you did not find support on the POC. So if you were looking to buy this dip here, this little zone right here, your stop loss would basically be below this volume node, so this little support. So right around here. And then you would be targeting the, depending on how low you got, you could target the POC, probably not. You would be targeting the val, which is right around here. And then you would be targeting the previous day's value area high. This would be like your buy zone, stop loss, targets. Okay, let's see if it plays out. Came close to your stop loss there, but you're still playing out to the upside. There's your first target. Your first target was the value area low there. You did shift the value area low a little bit lower, but that value area low when you entered your trade was right around there. You would have hit your first target. Now your second target and your main target is right around here. VWAP, value area high. Okay. Okay, so we actually just caught up to live. So yeah, that didn't really give you a lot of signals. And this is the problem with day trading Bitcoin using the volume profile. It doesn't give you a whole lot of signals. But if you're looking on longer scales, like I do on the analysis that I do in Discord, you're going to get a lot more trades, right? Well, I wouldn't say a lot more trades. Your trades are going to be more worth it. You don't need to trade a lot of trades. But okay, so you would have only gotten one trade today, and it would have been successful, right? So you would have bought the lower section down here, anywhere between these two levels, the previous day's POC and the previous day's value area low. This would have been your buy zone. Your first target, like I said, would have been the val right around there. And then your second target, you're still waiting on. So you would be slightly in profit today. You're still waiting on that final target. So sadly, that was not as eventful as I thought it would be. But that would be how you would have traded today's profile. Let me go back to your question. You said, you know how to draw a line from one point to another when a certain condition is true. Let me think about that for a second. So, first off, you need to make variables, right? So you need to make variables for the things that you're trying to draw your line from. Is it the same variable on both, or is it different variables? Draw a line from one point to another when a certain condition is true. So I'm guessing it's one variable. Are you trying to make one variable? You're trying to draw a line every time that variable is met, is what I'm guessing. The simplest way, you can obviously do this multiple ways. The simplest way that you could do that is you could have a variable, say, I don't know, you could have a variable like a new 5 candle low. So you have a new 5 candle low, that's going to start your variable, right? And then you could have that coloring a new bar. So that could be like a red bar. You could have an SMA of a 1 value based on whatever you're trying to take. So like the low, the high, the middle, whatever. So let's say you base it on the low. You can have an SMA value 1. So it's literally just touching every single bar. It's not actually doing an average. So SMA 1, whatever the variable is, and then it would just ride it. So every time that variable was met, the line would be going. That would be the simplest way to do it. I could show you on stream, but it would probably bore people to death. I don't think a lot of our stream is... Oops, Spy's actually nuking here. I don't think a lot of our stream is into the coding aspect. Yeah, Spy's actually nuking here. Interesting. He was having a really good day. So there's actually a really good trade here that we missed because I was doing the Bitcoin stuff. But what do you guys see here? Just at a first glance, what do you guys see here before this failure? So basically what this is showing you is you have a pretty balanced profile, right? Slightly bullish, decently balanced. You try to reclaim VWAP. What is happening right now? My trading view is going nuts. You tried to reclaim VWAP. So here's your VWAP trying to be reclaimed. Support. Tried to bounce higher. Double top. Look at these tops on the Momo. You have a bear div on the Momo. Okay. That is your first signal that you're losing strength. Then what do you see? So double top. Distribution, right? Distribution. Right on VWAP. You break VWAP. Okay, another sign. Well, actually another sign. You lose POC. So double top, you lose your POC. Green to red on the indicator. So basically everything's shifting downward here. But this is the main thing that I wanted to mention. Without all these fancy indicators, just looking at price and VWAP, you're seeing a SR flip. Support turned into resistance. So forget everything else. Support turned into resistance on VWAP. And then look at what you did. Nuked. You had a failure downward, retest, failure downward. Moneybags at a bulldog. The bulldog is back here. So I called this out on stream. You had a bulldog right here. Very beautiful bulldog. Boom. I called that out in Discord. But yeah, the main thing here, support, resistance. Double top, green to red, bear div. There's a lot of signals here. The script was taken down and had no description. Oh yeah, you gotta be careful with that. TradingView will take it down. But I bought it 92.18. I didn't get out. Forgot to keep a stop loss. Damn, dude. Yeah, you need stop losses on Bitcoin, especially overnight. But yeah, using what I talked about on Bitcoin, you don't get a lot of signals, obviously, if you're intraday trading. But if you're swing trading, it gives you much better opportunities, right? So, for example, here, I talked about this in Discord. See, I'll snip this here. So using what I just talked about, you have your most important levels marked out. You have your value area high, value area low, POC, right? And then what are you looking for the next day, right? The next day, you closed and you opened right here. This is the close. That's the open. Okay? You opened here, and then what do? You fall back down below your value area high. Okay? So if you have a day like this, where you close outside of the previous day's value area, and then you retrace into that value area, it is a very high probability that you will traverse the entire value area. So when you retraced back into this value area, this is a short signal. You could have shorted here. Stop loss just probably above your supports. You had to find some supports, obviously. You have a little bit of a support right here. So you would have probably put your stop loss somewhere around here. So entry, and then your target is a retest of that value area low, because you're looking to traverse that entire value area. Okay? So obviously this is not going to give you a very good R to R, but it's giving you a very high probability. So high probability trades are on average not going to give you very high R to R, because that would be too good. Okay? So just a simple recap. If this is yesterday's value area and you open up here and then you retrace into that value area, it is very likely that you will go the entire distance of that value area. So this would be like an entry. Stop loss would be above the supports, and you would be targeting that value area on the other side. So same thing could be said for like if you opened down here and you traveled above the value area low, you would be looking to keep going all the way into the value area high. Okay. Very simple technique. Keep that in mind. You'll see that very often. Let me see if I can find another example. Okay, here's another example here. So look at what you do. You close, you open here. So you open above yesterday's value area. You retrace below that value area high, giving you the short signal. And then look at where you travel. You travel all the way down the value area low, and some. You get a lot more. But that little trade there would have been from 97.33 to 95.58. That's a really good trade. That's like a 2.5% trade. Very high probability, 2.5% trade. So keep that in mind. You can see that on SPY as well. He said, I switched to FTX to have the least fees. Also has Quant Zone to build bots. Quite messy though right now. Yeah, I don't trade FTX. I'm using BitMEX for the most part. I also use Coinbase every now and then. Coinbase has... it has all of my like long holdings. If I'm holding Bitcoin or anything for long term. Nice little buy here coming in on the Fed window. Fed window 350. We got another window coming in 5 minutes. Nice little buy coming in here. By the way, guys, I need to make this clear because I'm getting a lot of this on the last couple of signups on Discord. I'm getting a lot of like misunderstandings. when you guys sign up to Discord, you have to have a Discord username, right? So you need to make a Discord account for when you sign up to the Discord group. When you guys sign up on the website, it asks you for the Discord username, and then it has example, hashtag, blah, 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 right? So when you sign up, you need to delete that example and put in your username with your hashtag. But don't just put your username. I need your hashtag numbers as well. I've had a lot of people either put in the wrong username, put in a username that's not a Discord username, put in, or just leave it blank as the example. So if you guys sign up, please make sure to put in the Discord username and the hashtag, and make sure it is a Discord username. So make sure you guys have a Discord. We only have 1 slot left in May. I'm going to open up 5 more slots in June, and then that's probably going to be it for June. We'll probably open up more in July, but I want to keep it pretty slow in June so I can work on some things. And a lot of you guys are starting to sign up for the tutoring, so I want to make sure there's time for everybody. So 1 more slot for May, and then I'll open up 5 slots in June. Maybe 10, like I might open up 5 towards the end of the month, we'll see. But I'm going to keep it 5 for the beginning. That entire Fed move got sold off. I wonder what's happening right now. Is anything happening, or is this just kind of a technical move? First thing you always do when you see sell-offs like this, you go to Trump's Twitter. What is Trump saying right now? Okay, the only thing Trump has said recently is he's talking shit about the Obama administration. So I don't think that has anything to do with it. He's also calling people political hacks. This guy's Twitter is something else, man. If you saw Trump's Twitter and you didn't know that that was the president, there is no amount of money that you would bet that he was the president. His tweets are hilarious. I don't see anything. If you guys see anything that's causing the dump right now, let me know. I don't see anything. So far, it looks like a purely technical move. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Let's zoom in a little bit here. We'll ignore the volume profile. It doesn't really matter here anyway. A little bit of a bull div coming in. Very strong move so far. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, no stream on Friday. I'm going to be away from the house pretty much the entire day, so no stream on Friday. I'll be streaming tomorrow and Thursday, though. It's a little bit of a short week today. No stream yesterday and then no stream Friday. I will be on Discord to answer any questions, but I won't be actively at my PC that day, so I won't be posting a lot of analysis or anything. But I'll be back on Saturday. I'll probably open up some more tutoring tomorrow or Thursday. So if you guys want to sign up for any tutoring sessions, I'll probably open up some times tomorrow. So keep an eye on Discord for that. Have about 4 minutes left in the day. Nothing really coming in here on the close. No buy pressure just yet. Still below your short-term moving averages. When you see these trends start to break out here below the value area low or above the value area high, like I've always said, you can use short-term moving averages. I like using the 10 and the 21 for the SPY. You can also use like a 12 moving average. I like the 12, just the regular moving average, not the EMA. What do we have? 3 minutes left. We can see if this wants to get above this moving average. It doesn't look like it though. Not a whole lot of buy volume coming in. Slight bull dip on the Momo. You can see the Momo gaining momentum here, but very, very minimal. Hey Robert, what's going on, man? The bull div looks like it wants to play out. You can see that momentum kind of shifting on the price action. You're already shifting on the indicator. You just need to see that shift on the price action. You're getting a little bit of it, but it's getting rejected. You can see that short-term moving average just pushing it down. Putting in lower lows. You can see very simple price action here. Lows, retracing, putting in lower lows. Robert said, I'm looking to short SPX 3074. Hope it still goes there. My invalidation comes from 2980. 3074. That's pretty high, isn't it? Where's that? 3074. Yeah, that's pretty high. That would be... yeah, right around the top here. Yeah, I could see that. It's starting to get really bullish. It's starting to get really bullish. Like, obviously, we're getting a little bit of a sell-off here towards the end of the day. But if it stays above this daily pivot on the OTS, it is bad news for the bears. It's currently testing it. It's kind of bouncing right off of it. 298.21. Very, very close. You're at 298.84. But if it stays above this pivot here, you gain value up here. You wait for the trail to come in. This could easily go up. 320, 330, no problem. There you go. Closing bell volume coming in. Trying to retrace upward. Close of the day. Did you actually close red after that gap? I think you did. Yeah, it closed very red. Gapped up, and that was the high of the day, basically. From open to close, you're down about 1%. From the gap, though, you're still looking pretty good. Where's that gap? Right around here. Yeah, you're still up about one and a quarter from that gap. Not looking too bad. Let me get rid of the volume profile here. You can see all these moving averages here. These are the most used moving averages. So like 10, 21, 50, 100, 200, right? Short term is climbing above the long term. This is where a lot of algos, a lot of bots, all that stuff, these are all going to start shifting very bullish very soon. If this keeps climbing here, there's no real spot for the bears to destroy this, right? To put it back down. You could see resistance kind of around that 320 to 330, right around that gap. Besides that, this thing is just going to slowly grind upward. You're already above most of your resistance. Like all this resistance back here, you're basically above all of that already. It's quite ridiculous. I do agree that it should not be climbing like this when there's a global pandemic basically destroying the economy. But this is trading. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, right? Moneybag said, are you in any trades? No, currently I'm not. I am cashed out of crypto. I sold most of my, I sold the bulk of my remaining crypto around 91, 92. I sold a lot of it a lot lower too, around 66, 87, 83. Basically sold it all the way up. So no trades in crypto. I have some accounts running on my bots just to test my bots out. They're only trading about $500 right now, not a lot. No trades on equities. So many states are open. They're open, but they're not open fully. There's only a couple of states that are like actually open, right? Like the restaurants are open, the bars are open, stuff like that. Like Texas is one of them. I don't really know of any off the top of my head besides Texas that are like actually open. Like my state, we're open for the most part, but the bars, the gyms, the movie theaters, all that stuff, they're all still closed. Florida's open. We're actually going backwards. My state, my governor, the hypocrite that he is, just announced that starting Friday, masks are mandatory in public. And he was literally seen today at the beach with a ton of people. Nobody had masks on. The guy's a moron. Virginia has one of the stupidest governors in the entire country. No matter what side of the political spectrum you are on, you can agree that the Virginia governor is a moron. What's going on, Jack? Most red states. The thing about red states is people try to make it very political. I'm not going to get very political on stream, obviously, but I like shutting down a lot of the mainstream bullshit that people they get locked into after reading all the stupid shit on social media or watching the news. The thing about red states that people don't understand is the population density of most red states that are not like big red states like Texas, like all the red states that are like farmland in the Mideast and the Midwest. The population density is minimal compared to most blue states. So when you're comparing state to state, saying like, oh, this red state's open, this blue state's not open, the red state can remain open and still have minimal risk, right? The blue states, most of the blue states are in the coast for the most part, and they're very dense, right? They have very high population density. They can't open for the most part because of their population density. So it's a big misunderstanding. I'm in Florida. Everything is back to normal. Yeah, I'm in Virginia. We're not back to normal just yet. Like I said, we're actually going backwards. We're going towards the more of the lockdown. We were supposed to be back to normal, but he keeps changing his rules like every week. The guy's an idiot. You're in Miami. Yeah, so you're in a really... So that's crazy. Places like Miami being open, because you guys are very dense. Not dense in the head, but dense population-wise. I mean, I guess some of you guys are probably dense in the head. Robert said, in my opinion, it's better to just get rid of the lockdown. Lockdowns are killing people, more people than Corona. Just let the elderly stay home. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much on stream because it's very divisive, right? It is after hours, so we do talk a lot about just random stuff after hours. If you guys are just coming in, if you guys are new to my channel, we talk about everything trading related pretty much during market hours. After hours, we kind of get into a little bit of non-trading related stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I'm in the thought process that the states that can open should open. The states that don't have very high population density, and that can kind of go back to life as normal and still maintain safety, I think those states should be opening. States like New York, states like Florida with places like Miami and stuff like that that are very high population density, they probably should be remaining slightly locked down until they put measures in place, obviously, that make it safe, right? The problem is, how long do you let this continue, right? Like, how long can this lockdown continue before the economy just completely crumbles? The most disgusting thing about it is states are allowing big businesses like Walmart and all these other shopping marts and whatever to remain open with basically no regulation. But they are not allowing small businesses to open at all. Even if the small businesses are putting in very strict regulations where like people have to wear masks, they have to wear gloves, they have to remain a certain distance apart, it doesn't matter. The states are at war right now with small businesses. They are not allowing small businesses to open at all, but they are allowing big corporations to continue business as usual. That is ridiculous. That is basically a crime against the Americans' freedom, right? That is a war on the small business owners. And it's slowly becoming exactly that. It's becoming a war on the small business owners. There's places that I was reading about in like Boston, New York, other states that are very population dense. They've been in business for decades and they have to close because they cannot stay open because of the lockdown. And the states will not allow them to open with any regard at all, with no, even if they put in a lot of regulation, the states are not allowing them to reopen. It's ridiculous. It's very obvious what is happening. It's where capitalism fails, right? Capitalism is, I'm all for capitalism, right? But that is one of the things that capitalism is failing at. Is stuff like this, when the corporations are allowed to continue business as usual and the small business owner is getting bent over. It's not fair. Hey, Rozaki said, I recently discovered videos on YouTube. Really good stuff. Do you do longer term analysis? Yeah, we do longer term analysis all the time. I do a lot of daily stuff, weekly stuff. I talk about like longer term levels. I post a lot of longer term analysis in Discord. I don't go over too much longer term stuff on stream because it's not as active, right? Once you go over longer, like for example, if I go over longer term stuff on Monday, I don't really have to go over longer term stuff on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, right? Because it's a longer term analysis. You do it once, I only have to do it like once a week, right? You don't see a lot of that on stream. I do a lot more of that analysis in Discord, obviously. Mainly on stream, I try to keep it more for the short term so we can have something fresh every day. John said DeSantis is a joke. They have been very lax in Florida. Lucky my restaurants didn't have to close. Oh, so you actually got lucky. Yeah, so you're a small business owner and you didn't have to close. The ridiculous thing is, in most states, like I said, like the really dense, like California, Boston, Massachusetts, like all those areas, New York City, New York State, all that. The small business owners are getting reamed. Even in Virginia, like the nail salons or anything like that, like all the barbershops, all that stuff. It all makes sense, obviously, because like barbershops, nail salons, they have to touch you. It's all kind of like hospitality businesses where you have to touch the customers. I understand, but it's just, how long can it go on, right? That is the question we have to ask ourselves. It gets to a point where, how long can it continue? I was just talking about this with people in my Discord, private messages, obviously, about how I lost my train of thought. Fuck, I lost it. What was I saying? Let me go look at my messages. I really lost what I was about to say. What the hell was I about to say? I just lost my entire train of thought there. I was trying to read messages in chat while coming up with my thought. He said, hold on, let me start from the top. Moneybag said, where do you think the direction of the SPY is heading? I think as long as we maintain above the pivot on the daily, it should continue upward. God, that pisses me off. I was about to make a really good point, and I can't remember what I was about to say. I feel like I have Alzheimer's. Jeez. John said the funding was nuts. I was supposed to get 17K. Been with the bank for 15 years. Chain opened across the street 6 months ago. They got 1.2 million for one store. Oh, okay, I remember what I was about to say. Your message helped me. Thank you. So I was about to say that if this continues to go on for much longer, people are getting lazier and lazier every day, right? People are getting $700 to $1,000 a week, sometimes more than that if you have kids and whatnot, in unemployment. That's not on top of that. That's not including other forms of benefits that you can receive. That's just unemployment, right? So you can receive benefits from like your job, and you can get your wages coming in from your job as well. So you're working less hours, getting paid sometimes more money. I've heard from multiple people they are working half as many hours, sometimes a little bit more, and they're getting paid more than if they were just working standard hours. It's ridiculous, dude. We are literally turning into a socialist economy where people are working less, getting paid more. Now, this looks good, right? People are like, oh, I'm getting more money. It's fantastic. This cannot continue. This cannot go on forever. This is not how the world works, right? Especially not in a country like America. Our population size and just the way this country is built is not built for socialism. It would not work like you see in all these really tiny 20 million to 50 million to 60 million population countries. It's just not going to happen. So as the days go on, people are getting paid stupid amount of money to stay home, maybe sometimes not even work at all, or they're working less hours and getting paid more. It's insane, man. How long can it continue? That is the question we have to ask ourselves. How long can it continue? Businesses, if they're allowed to open, they can get ridiculous loans as well. Not as ridiculous as like Canada. Canada's getting sometimes zero interest loans, sometimes loans they don't have to pay back. It's insane. Let me see. John said, I'm in South Florida, about 20 minutes north of Miami. Hey, Bree, what's going on? Robert said, I've heard AOC lately been ranting about military supplier that charges $400 for something that costs $20. Don't get me wrong, I oppose AOC. Not a fan of her, but she was right on that. Yeah, she is probably the stupidest person in Congress. I don't think I've ever seen anyone to her level of stupidity. You can be on both sides of the spectrum, Republican, Democrat, far left, far right. We can all agree that she is an idiot. But yeah, so in that sense, I've seen that all over the place. There's tons of stuff that the government, like toilet seats, toothpaste, toilet paper, like shit that you would not even imagine. The price that they are paying or they are receiving is much higher than it should be. That's been going on for decades. That's not going to change. Our government is very corrupt in that instance. John said I was denied. Oh, you were denied for funding? Yeah. Yeah, I've heard mixed stories on the small business loans. Robert said this can lead to very high prices. Definitely. Fractulus said thoughts on gold. I can take a look at it in a second. John said I make too much for support, but I have employees that still haven't gotten anything. The store didn't get funded, and my business is down 20%, and one store and 25 in the one close to college. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I wish you the best, man. I hope your businesses make out of it. But it's we just don't know, man. Like I said, how long is it going to go on? How long until we go back to normal? Hopefully, when things go back to normal, your business booms. It probably will, because places like movie theaters, bars, clubs, they're probably going to boom. When it finally reopens, people are going to go nuts. They're going to be going to the club like every single day. It's going to be a Tuesday, middle of the day. They're going to be going to clubs. Using all that unemployment money they saved up. Bree said, I'm Canadian. I love it. Yeah, Canada, Sticky's Canadian, so he's been telling me about all the different things that they're doing. It's insane. But America is not like that. America cannot do what Canada does. People, it's a misconception, right? People look at countries like Canada, Sweden, Denmark, all these countries that they have socialist policies, right? And they're like, oh, why can America be socialist? And why can't America just go full socialism? It's just never going to work. America is not the type of country that socialism would work in. And to even go back even further on that, I see a lot of jokes being made on Twitter and whatnot, saying that America is basically socialist now because we're providing all kinds of benefit because of the pandemic. I think that's ridiculous. To compare America to a socialist country because of the socialist benefits that America is giving out to the people and in times of crisis, I think that's ridiculous. People are assuming that because America is giving out socialist benefits during a time like this, that we can continue to do that forever. They're like, oh, it's working now. Why can't we just keep doing that? It's just not how the world works. If you guys are in that spectrum, you guys want to do a lot more research. Let's see. John said, I feel like they are opening I think I read that. Opening some places because people are starting to get rowdy. I think they should be getting rowdy, honestly. I think in a lot of places, it depends, right? It depends on how the state is run, what the population density is, how many coronavirus cases there are. There's a lot of different variables, right? But certain places are being fully locked down. Their businesses are going out of business, so all the small businesses are getting destroyed. The corporations are just raining money. They're seeing ridiculous profits because all the other businesses are closed, so all these big corporations are getting a lot of money, right? I think the people should be mad. Especially if they're small business owners. That one thing that I heard about in Texas, where that lady got arrested because she broke the lockdown order and opened up her business, that was ridiculous. And then the governor let her go, basically pardoned her, and then she received a stupid amount of money on like GoFundMe and whatnot because the people were on her side, right? Let's see. Man said, I wonder what would happen if a more powerful virus hit. Did anyone talk about the future? Not sure what you mean about the future thing, but yeah, more powerful virus, definitely. This virus is very contagious, but the death rate's not very high, right? The death rate's pretty high. It's very high in older people, but it's not very high in younger people. So if this virus had the same death rate across the board, it would be a disgustingly powerful virus. But because it's only really affecting people above the age of like 50 to 60, it's affecting younger people, but the death rate is extremely low. But people above like 60, 70, 80, they have a very high death rate. The virus is pretty powerful, but it's not powerful in younger people. I read somewhere that the median age of deaths in America is around 80, which is insane. That's probably a little high. It's probably closer to around 70 to 75, but it's still crazy to think about how the median age, the average age, is that high. Basically, the entire country is in a panic and lockdown because of the death rate in the higher aged people, which is understandable. But people see that death rate in the elderly, and they assume it's the same death rate across the board. It's not. Pretty much every person my age could get the virus, and it would kill a very minimal amount of us, right? It could spread like wildfire through the colleges, and a very small amount of college kids would die because the death rate in younger people is just very low. But all right, sorry. Let's I'll do a little bit of analysis here, and we'll call it a stream. I know you guys probably like a little bit of our aftermarket talk, but I have to be very censored. You guys know that. It would really hurt my my stream if I got very political or anything. So let's get back to analysis. You guys asked about SPY. You guys asked about gold, Bitcoin. I do all of that analysis in Discord. So if you guys want in-depth analysis on gold, Bitcoin, oil, Ethereum, SPY, all that stuff is done in Discord. I don't do too much on stream, obviously. But for the most part, I'll give you guys little simple hints. SPY, this is a very strong level here. If we maintain above this level, there is no reason that it cannot continue all the way up to 330. If we fail this level, then it's looking very bad. Okay? That's all I'm going to say on SPY. On Bitcoin, Bitcoin is currently in a very major support. You have an accumulation back here that you are currently testing. If you bounced here and reclaim this accumulation, it could be very bullish. If you lose this accumulation, it is looking very bad. Okay? I talk about I talk about the significant levels in Discord. But as you can see, you can just kind of zoom out and look where your significant levels are. Right? But if you lose this level, there is nothing really to protect you until this lower range. Okay? Keep that in mind. If you double bottom here, you could continue higher. For gold, let me go to GC here. For gold, pretty simple. You have a support right here. You're distributing above that support. If you fail below the distribution, you still have that support to help you. If not, most likely, probably back towards the mid 1500s. You break above this distribution, you're going to go much higher. You can take a look at the weekly. You don't have a lot of resistance above your current high. If you do break above that distribution, you could go much higher. One thing to note on the weekly that I will give you a little hint about. Look at that weekly bear div. Not very good. So keep that in mind. Keep the distribution in mind. You have a couple of lower levels here to watch for. But that's all I'll say on stream. Beautiful pivot there on SPY. Let me see. John said a conspiracy theory that I watched video with Jim Snyder, who is a repo loan broker. He blames this on the overnight loan market collapsing similar to the way the housing did in '08. There was a large player who shorted the bonds. Payday was to the tune of $1 trillion. Dalio is my guess. And the oil market. He says had we not shut down, this could have been much worse. Had to shut down transports. This was our answer to the squeeze that was coming, or maybe it was a virus. Gotcha. Yeah, I read a lot about that, like bond stuff. I saw the stuff circulating on Twitter. There were screenshots of different bonds that had a. Have you guys seen the pandemic bonds they had? There was pandemic bonds that had a. What do they call it? Forgot the word for it. The futures. When the futures are done, they're paying out. What's that date called? The settlement date. It had a settlement date basically right before the coronavirus started breaking out. I don't know how accurate that was. I couldn't find actual information on it. But that was one conspiracy theory that I was looking into. I try to avoid the conspiracy theory stuff nowadays because I kind of dive into it. I used to do all that stuff back in like middle school, high school. Nowadays, I just kind of ignore a lot of it. It's not that I don't believe it. It's just that it's very time consuming, right? You have to do a lot of your own research and kind of look for different sources to back a lot of the information. It's a lot of work. Fractionalist said, thanks, I've been long from 2950. Yeah, I think the long is good on SPY until otherwise. Obviously, until it breaks below that pivot. If it fills this gap in here and it gets back below the 290s, very, very bad news. But you stay above the gap, stay above 290s, stay above that pivot. It'll be pretty good. But all right, guys, we're coming up on an hour and a half. I streamed a little bit longer today since we had no stream yesterday. I will be streaming again tomorrow. No stream on Friday, like I said. But I will be back tomorrow, and I will be back on Thursday as well. I'll probably open up some more tutoring sessions in the Discord. Hey, Turn Up, appreciate that. Coming in on the end of the stream. 15-month resub. Appreciate that, man. One of our last remaining subs. Last of the old guard. Appreciate you sticking around, man. But yeah, I'll be streaming tomorrow. I'll be streaming Thursday. Probably going to open up some tutoring tomorrow in the Discord. What else? We've got one slot left in the Discord for May. So if you want to use the May 100 discount, we got one slot left on that. I'm going to open up 5 more slots in June. So once June starts, we'll open up 5 more. But 1 remaining on May. But yeah, by the way, guys, I talked about it earlier. If you guys sign up for the Discord on the website, please, please, please put in your correct username. Make sure it's a Discord username. Make sure it has your hashtag numbers. And yeah, that's all I need, really. Just the username, the hashtag numbers. Make sure it's an actual username, and you're good to go. Make sure you fill in a username. A lot of people don't even fill in a username. They just leave it blank. So make sure you fill it in. Make sure it has the proper username with the hashtag, and you're good to go. But all right, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good rest of your day. Stay safe as always. And I'll see you guys around 3 p.m. Eastern. All right, guys.